Hey, Pat, let's talk about that movie that brought back this famous cancelled sci-fi series.
Oh, Serenity?
No, the one with the huge impact on a whole society.
Star Trek?
No, by Grabdar's Hammer, Galaxy Quest.
Welcome to Passion of the Geeks, the show in which two friends and fellow geeks talk about geek and pop culture and everything else we enjoy. I am Pat.
And I'm Greg.
And let's get on with it. So, hello, Greg, and happy birthday.
It's not my birthday, Pat. You should know that.
It's something better. It's the Passion of the Geeks birthday. 1 year, Greg. Happy birthday.
Yes, it's been a long year.
Yeah.
A very strange year, let's be honest. But I'm glad we made it.
Oh, yeah. So am I. It's a really great project. And I'm so glad you talked me into it, Greg.
Well, with glad that we made it, I meant glad we're still alive because of the whole pandemic thing. But yeah, podcast, that's pretty cool too. No, just kidding. And actually quite serious. Well, we started this project because of the pandemic, because we needed something to help us through it. And I think it grew into something a little bit more than just something to pass the time during the pandemic. And yeah, this small 1 year anniversary actually proves that, I think.
Yeah. I mean, we are aware that there are a lot of podcasts that have been started during the pandemic because, I mean, it's a great thing to do. It's totally understandable. But there are a lot of podcasts that are no longer alive. So I think it's something we can really be proud about.
I think so too, yeah. I mean, most podcasts, I think they die after episode 3 or 4, I think.
Yeah.
And we are now at 44.
Yeah.
Maybe some people think we should have called it quits after 2 or 3 episodes. Maybe we reached our peak back then. I don't know. But I'm really glad we started this. I'm really glad we're still doing this. And I hope we can continue doing this for a while, even without a pandemic.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
If we could just continue it, but get rid of the pandemic, that would be awesome.
That would be awesome, yeah. Actually awesome, yeah.
And Greg, you actually did a little bonus episode at the day of our birthday, so that was cool.
Yeah, it wasn't really supposed to be a birthday celebration, but I had some time on my hand and I wanted to try something out. I played around a little bit with the sound interface on my computer. And then I had this idea to do a little deep dive into the Passion of the Geeks theme. A theme that I composed in air quotes because, once you listen to my process of composing the Passion of the Geeks theme, you know why the air quotes. But it's still a piece of music I quite enjoy. A piece of music that I'm quite proud of. And, well, not sure if we will change it at some point. I mean, we have changed it. There are some special versions that I talk about a little bit as well. But I've grown accustomed to our theme. So, yeah, I think for the moment we'll keep it.
Yeah, I mean, I like it a lot. And after a whole year, I'm still not sick of it. So I think that's something. So good job, Greg.
I mean, it's very short. That helps.
Yeah, probably. And also the variations you made. I like the episode. It was interesting for me as well to hear you talk about your thought process.
I mean, you did not know that thing about the chords, did you? That I just stole them?
No, I didn't know. But, I mean, you're the musician of our group, so...
Again, in air quotes.
Yeah, no, I think it's a cool little bonus episode.
Thanks.
All right then, but let's go back to today. Greg, have you found out anything that you want to tell us?
Well, yesterday I stumbled across this news article that talked about apparently 2 big new Marvel games are supposed to get announced in the next few days. I mean, I think it's E3 is coming up, or at least the time that E3 usually happens is about to... I think E3 is supposed to be in 3 or 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's possible, yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't really matter because it's not going to be a real E3 anyway. So, but there are supposed to be some announcements. And apparently Firaxis or Take-Two, which is their publisher, is supposed to announce a new Marvel game, which is described as XCOM with Marvel heroes. And Eidos Montreal is supposed to be working on a Guardians of the Galaxy game. Eidos Montreal, the makers of Deus Ex. And I don't really know what to expect from the Guardians of the Galaxy game. Probably an action-adventure shooter game. Hopefully more action-adventure. But an XCOM game with Marvel heroes? I'm interested.
Yeah, so am I.
I mean, I like turn-based strategy games. I like the old Fallout games. I liked Wasteland and stuff like that. So, and I played a little bit of XCOM as well. What's the last one? XCOM 2 was the last big one, wasn't it?
Yeah, XCOM 2.
Yeah. So, and kind of having different Marvel heroes with their different abilities. And I think in an XCOM setting, you could actually play with the Avengers and use their different skill sets and use these skill sets together. That actually sounds rather intriguing to me.
Definitely. I mean, I'm a huge XCOM fan since the early DOS days. And one thing that I think might be interesting, how they're doing this. Usually in XCOM games, you have this permadeath and how they're handling that, because that was part of thrill of the level, to have your characters being able to permanently die and lose everything you've put into them. I wonder what they do with the Marvel heroes, but I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yeah. So we'll focus on that. We'll keep you updated whatever happens to those announcements. I mean, obviously they're computer games. They're probably going to be delayed and are years off, but yeah, who knows? What about you? What do you have to share for us?
I have some exciting news, and it looks like Sierra Online, the old adventure company, is back. Well, sort of.
Pat talks about adventure games. It must be Sunday.
Yeah. Oh, I hope no one is surprised here.
No one is surprised.
But the truth is, Sierra is, of course, not back. The thing that happens is that there was this news item that was saying something like, Ken and Roberta Williams are creating a new adventure game. And I am kind of a Sierra fanboy, and I'm even more a fan of Roberta Williams. But the thing is, it's not Ken and Roberta Williams who are creating this game. It's Ken Williams and another guy called Marcus Mera, if I'm not mistaken. And Ken is making what he said is a Sierra-style game. So Sierra did a lot of other styles of games, not just adventures. For example, Half-Life. But the thing is, I guess we were talking about an adventure game here. However, Roberta Williams is not directly involved into creating the game. And I mean, this is something I'm not surprised, because Roberta Williams very famously said that she will never make another adventure game, because either she will make it like the old Sierra games, and a lot of people are frustrated because of the deaths and the dead ends and stuff that she likes to put in, or she makes a modern adventure game, and then her fans are disappointed because she didn't put any deaths and dead ends into the game. She will not make another game. She is, however, working sort of as a consultant for Ken Williams. So I guess there will be a little bit of Roberta in this game. And it's basically finished as far as Ken Williams said. The programming is finished. They're just creating the graphics and sounds and everything. So he expects a fall release. We will see if this will happen. As you said, computer games, they're always delayed.
Always delayed. Every game is delayed.
So, yeah, I once said I try not to be hyped, but I'm cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
As usual.
As usual, yeah.
All right, Greg, back to you. Do you want to check out something?
I checked out many things over the last 2 weeks. I just want to mention two things for two very different reasons. First of all, Army of the Dead is on Netflix. It's the new Zack Snyder movie with a really great premise. It's the zombie apocalypse or zombie invasion or zombie outbreak happened in Las Vegas. And a team of mercenaries tries to go in to, rob a casino. So it's basically, or it's supposed to be a heist movie with a zombie film. And I mean, this premise is just genius. I mean, I can see the movie in front of my eyes. Unfortunately, the movie Army of the Dead is not exactly the movie I wanted. It's okay. It's watchable. It's fine. It stars Dave Bautista, who's awesome. I mean, Dave Bautista is slowly evolving into a really, really great leading man. I mean, he can actually carry a movie, so pretty cool. But the movie is too long. There's so many things that just don't make any sense. The heist is unfortunately boring. Some things they do with the zombie or the zombie lore is just really weird. And my biggest gripe is, the movie is at least 30 to 60 minutes too long. Yeah. So the movie is 2.5 hours long. And honestly, please, a zombie heist movie doesn't need to be 2.5 hours long. But yeah, so Army of the Dead, if you catch a rainy day, watch it. It's fine. But yeah, it's not as good as the premise might suggest. Speaking of things that are actually as good as the premise suggests, so I got my second vaccine shot a couple of days ago. And yeah, because I'm a wuss, or I don't know, maybe because my immune system is just really out there to get me. I had a day where I felt, let's say, not so great under the weather. Everything was fine. Let's just say I had a day that I spent on the couch without any, without feeling bad for not going outside. So I thought, I need something comfortable to watch, something that makes me forget that every part of my body aches. So apparently Amazon carries Chuck, which is one of my favorite shows ever. So I pressed play on the first episode of Chuck, and thanks to Chuck, I think after I don't know how many episodes, I felt great again. Not entirely sure if it was Chuck that made me feel better or if it was just the time that passed because of Chuck. But anyone who hasn't seen Chuck, it's the series with Zachary Levi, where he overnight becomes or has to become a secret agent, which is it's a silly premise, but it just works. It's a fun show about action comedy secret agent thing. If you don't know it, it's on Amazon Prime and it's definitely worth your time. I think we have to do an episode about Chuck at some point.
Oh yes, we do. Definitely.
Because there's so many great things to talk about there. I mean, so many cool guest stars, so many cool music moments, so many cool set pieces. Yeah. But it's also good to kind of get you through an immune reaction. Let's just leave it at that.
Well, I mean, having time to watch Chuck, That's a great thing. As you said, we need to talk about that in a bit more detail.
Yeah, I think it's my hands, they were too weak, so I couldn't play any games and I couldn't really concentrate. So yeah, it was just watching something. So yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, you're not a wuss. I had my problems with the second vaccine shot as well. So, well, I am a wuss.
Yeah, but so. just don't get us wrong. I had one bad day. You had 1.5 or 2 bad days.
Yeah, 2.
So,
but
I mean, yeah, that's personal experience. I do it again. I mean, yeah, obviously I do it again. I watched Chuck for a whole day. I mean, why wouldn't I do that again?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I wouldn't have done that if I hadn't gotten the second shot. So think about that.
And that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
And there are a lot of people who don't have any problems at all. Yeah. So don't listen to us and think, oh, no, I shouldn't do that.
Maybe you just looked for reasons to stay on the couch. Maybe that's it.
That's entirely possible.
Our body wanted us to stay inside. Okay, I think it's best if we move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
What about you? What do you have to check out for us this week?
Yeah, again, something very, very small. And again, it's an adventure, so surprise. And this time it is a new adventure. It's the adventure called Strangeland. It's a bit hard to describe. It's a surreal kind of horror adventure. And I'm not a huge horror fan, but I like what they did in Strangeland, how they told the story with some surreal and horror elements. It's more horror in the sense of Edgar Allan Poe than Army of the Dead. So it's very well written, has a lot of really great puzzles because of the strange setting. It allows to have some puzzles that would not be possible in, say, a normal adventure game. And that's a good thing. I don't want to tell too much of it because everything could be a spoiler. And just look, I give you a link to GOG.com and Steam. It's available there. Buy it, try it.
Okay.
So then, let's get into our story of the week. It's something I wanted to do for a long, long time. Actually, it has been on my list since the beginning of our podcast. And I thought, especially because our podcast is now 1 year old and we want to talk about passions of geeks. And this is something that really puts the passion of the geeks on the big screen. And this is the movie Galaxy Quest. And when we talk about this, we will have a couple of spoilers, of course. But, I mean, it's a 22-year-old movie. If you have not seen it, stop this podcast immediately and watch it. It's so worth it.
Yeah, it's from 1999. It's 22 years old. If you haven't watched it, just go watch it. Stop this podcast. We're gonna be here in 1.5 hours, so to speak, and you can listen to us go on and gosh about this movie because it's really, really great. But yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Highly recommend it. We will tell you why starting now.
So, Galaxy Quest is a science fiction comedy movie. The box blurb says, the alumni cast of a space opera television series have to play their roles as the real thing when an alien race needs their help. However, they also have to defend both Earth and the alien race from a reptilian warlord. And that's the plot, basically.
Yeah, but it's not really a movie that is about the plot.
No, it isn't. It's a movie where the plot is not as relevant. And in fact, there's a couple of sequences where they try to tell you the plot and just fade out because the character who's supposed to listen to that blurb is falling asleep.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the premise of the whole thing that we have these washed up actors, or basically these typecast actors who had one role in their career and get reduced to that role, like it might have happened to some Star Trek actors. And obviously their life is not what they want it to be, and that's why at least one of them likes to look deep into a bottle of scotch or whatever he's drinking.
Yeah. The movie itself opens with a little bit, we see the original show Galaxy Quest, on which everything is based on. It's a show from the late 70s, early 80s, who had their final airing in 1982. But it does have a huge franchise around it, a huge fan base, and there are, of course, conventions. And the actors of that show from Galaxy Quest, they attend these conventions and signing autographs and stuff, like you're expecting. Some of them love this, others not so much.
I mean, it's not surprising, or I think it's pretty obvious that most of this movie it's not really making fun of, but it's a little bit in the vein of Star Trek and Star Trek fan culture. The whole set design, the whole movie, the characters and everything is obviously based and tries to make or tries to pay homage to Star Trek.
Yeah.
And I actually think that's something that works really, really good, because it's actually similarly to the Orville. Mm-hmm. It's not making fun of Star Trek by ridiculing it. It's making fun of Star Trek by kind of leaning into its tropes, and it's not laughing about Star Trek. It's laughing with Star Trek.
Yeah.
And I like movies like this when they're not mean-spirited. And Galaxy Quest is definitely not mean-spirited. In the contrary, it's actually a very uplifting story that even washed-up actors who hate each other can come together and work together with an advanced alien race to actually save the day and save each other.
Yeah.
So I would argue that's a very, very positive message. And I mean, we haven't done too many deep dives into movies. We've done Tron, which is a movie we really, really like. We did
Blade.
We did Blade, which is a movie we really like. And we did Indiana Jones, but kind of more the whole series. But I think among all the movies we talked about, this is probably the one that's closest to a perfect movie.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Because I said it before when I talked about Army of the Dead, which is 2.5 hours long. I mean, this movie is 100 minutes long. And 99 minutes of these, and more because the credits, they're not the most interesting minutes, but all the minutes that are not the credits are actually really, really, really good. There is kind of every scene, every moment, every quote, everything that gets introduced has a purpose. There is no fat here. And I think the people who, first of all, I think it's really, really well written. And it's really, really well acted, because everyone was in on the joke. Everyone knew what they were doing. And it's really, really well edited.
Yeah.
Because, there's no fat. Everything serves a purpose. So, it's definitely a masterclass in what a good high-concept comedy can and should be.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because, as you said, it's not laughing about Star Trek. It's really so much a Star Trek movie that you could say it's probably the fourth best Star Trek movie?
I mean, honestly, if someone argues best Star Trek movie, this is definitely a movie that should be part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Even though it's different franchise, kind of different universe, everything, but it should definitely be on the conversation, because it's not just that you watch a movie that pays homage to Star Trek. It's literally a movie that is about Star Trek and about what Star Trek is about. Mm-hmm. So it's a movie about Star Trek, the show, the phenomenon, and it's a movie about what a Star Trek movie actually would be. It's like the movie and the making of at the same time.
Yeah, it's a movie and a documentary of
so to speak, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And it totally works. The movie spends a great deal of these 100 or something minutes on what it means to have a franchise, on what it means to be an actor in these big franchises, an actor who is recognized for this one role the people just love, the fans just love. And it's also about the length of fans would go, not just they go to conventions and they cosplay and everything, but they're interested in the world. They're interested in how the things work, the starship works. And this is so nice, because in the end, without the fans, the crew of the Protector would not have survived. They would have been blown to pieces.
Yeah, I think so too, yeah. I mean, we mentioned before, I mean, obviously the story, it's completely out there and really, really weird, and the whole premise is just bonkers. But I don't care and I don't mind, because for me, the emotions, they are true and they work, and that's what, for me, keeps the movie together. And I mean, we talked about, we've been talking about it for a few minutes now, and we haven't really focused too much on the plot or on certain plot elements. And that's not because the plot is bad or anything. In the contrary, the movie's actually, it's a really good ride. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But when you talk about the movie or when you remember the movie, it's not the plot that you remember. It's the characters and how they got through it and how they behaved and what they learned. And I have to admit, this is probably one of the best casts for any of these kinds of movie there is. Yeah. I mean, usually when you have kind of a comedy movie like this, you have maybe one or two standout actors and maybe one scene stealer. Mm-hmm. But here, everyone is so great. And I'm not sure if they won any prizes for it, but the person who cast this movie should definitely have gotten a prize for it.
Oh, yeah.
Because everyone is just so perfect. I mean, we could just go through the whole cast, and I'm pretty sure we could find something that made us say, "Oh, he's my favorite," or "She's my favorite" here. Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite?
Oh, that's a really hard question. I think, I mean, it's a little bit cliche, but I really love Tim Allen in this movie. And he's maybe not the best actor, but what he does is fantastic. He has some really great emotions there. And if you think about watching Galaxy Quest and you think, oh no, it's a movie with Tim Allen, I won't watch this. Don't. He is really great in this. He does a really great job. For example, when he overhears some of the convention visitors kind of laughing about them as actors, because you see how his heart breaks, actually. And I mean, this is something everyone does. I mean, we as podcasters probably have done this as well, and saying things like, oh yeah, he was all right as this and this, but he never got anything more. And you see how his heart breaks. And later, when he has some of the more heartful scenes with Mathasar or something. He's really fantastic. But I would say he's not the best actor in the whole bunch. Which one would be your favorite?
I mean, just quickly the point you're making about Tim Allen. I mean, he plays this narcissist who's kind of an asshole. But I actually think the moment at the convention when after he hears what some people think about him and the other actors from the original Galaxy Quest show, the emotion he plays there and how he goes off against the fan, I think that anchors the movie, that anchors his character, because he's not just a narcissistic asshole. He's also a human being who has feelings who can be hurt. Yeah. So maybe Tim Allen was made to play this, because that's a little bit how I picture him in real life as well, but that's a whole other story. But here's the thing. We could just, as I said before, we could just go through the list. I mean, Sigourney Weaver is in this movie, and she plays the character as far as removed from really as possible. Yeah, I mean, she basically just stands there, looks nice, and repeats the computer. Did I say Ridley? I meant Ripley. Ridley is the director. Ripley, sorry, Ellen Ripley. I mean, it's just such a great casting choice to cast her. But that being said, I think my favorite is probably Alan Rickman as Alexander Dane and Lazarus.
Yeah, he is great.
I mean, Alan Rickman is always great.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that. He's always great.
And taken from us way, way, way too soon. I mean, Die Hard.
Oh, yeah.
Galaxy Quest here, or as the Sheriff of Nottingham, or in the Harry Potter movies. I mean, he's always so great, and he was great here as well. And kind of the way how he plays it, the way he plays it, he's annoyed that he has to repeat these few quotes from the show all the time. And then at one point he says, no, I'm not going to say the quote. And then they just play it as a recording. But then in the end, the quote, by Grabtar's hammer, by the sons of Wormwood, you shall be avenged. I mean, in the end, he actually says it and he means it.
Yeah, that's great.
And not just because it's a commercial and he gets paid for it. So that's really, really, really great. I mean, he has a great character arc as well.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, he probably is the one character who personifies that typecasting the most, because he's actually a Shakespearean actor. He had about 5 curtain calls for Richard III, and now he's just Lazarus. And he hates it.
He hates it.
But yeah, I mean, it's so great. You never see him without his rubber head in the whole movie. Even at that one scene where he's at home, he's like depicted as if he's just come home and he's not yet showered or something. And you never see his hair until the end, when some of it sticks out because the rubber mask is broken.
Always in makeup, never breaking character.
Yeah. So great.
But yeah, I mean, speaking of the actors, I mean, again, everyone is great. I mean, there is Enrico Colantoni as Mathasar, the leader of the Thermians. And he's just hilarious. Yeah. His demeanor and his voice. And I read somewhere that it was actually Enrico Colantoni. Some of you might know him as Keith Marth from Veronica Mars, Veronica's dad in that show. Yeah. And he's just so great in playing this alien. And apparently he came up with it, with the voice and the demeanor. And the director, Dean Paris, that he liked it so much that he sent everyone else that they cast in as an alien into alien school. So they had to emulate him. And it immediately sets the mood because, the way they speak and with this kind of childlike innocence.
Yeah. They're very naive.
they're the 12-year-old or even the younger fans of Star Trek who just watch the show and, why is this real? Oh, cool.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the greatest hooks about the show. These Thermians, they're very intelligent, they are scientists and everything, but they're very naive and they have no concept of acting or deceiving someone or lying. And they think these are historic documents.
So silly.
I mean, like a 6-year-old children who watch a show and they kind of are somewhere in that they believe that it's true, or they still can believe that it's true. And that is wonderful. It depicts Star Trek fans in a more exaggerated fashion, but brilliantly. And as you said, the way they act, the way they walk, it's hilarious because the Thermians are actually like octopi or anything, and they're just morphed into this human form, which they got from the extras of the TV series. So they all look like the extras in that final scene. And the little bit acting that they can as humans is actually from these extras. It's brilliant.
And there's this great scene when kind of the whole crew comes to the ship. The Thermians, they forget to switch on their kind of the device that makes them look human. And kind of, the whole crew, they see them in their natural form and it's just grotesque and really, really scary. And then I switch it on. And then Tony Shalhoub, the mechanic character, what's his name?
Chen.
Jen, yeah.
He plays an Asian character.
Yeah, so much for that. But he not only plays a fake Asian character, he also plays a stoner, let's be honest.
Yeah, I don't know if he's very cool, very laid back.
He's too cool. But he shows up too late and he doesn't see the Thermians in their real form. So he's very, very chilled about them.
Yeah, like, what's with them?
What's with them?
All the others are like, oh.
That's pretty cool as well. And, I mean, speaking of plot and characters as well, there is the Sam Rockwell character.
Yeah.
Just named Guy. And he's so... I think at the end of the day, he's my favorite. Because... he just plays, I mean, he's even worse than the others because he has to work at these conventions and he's not even an actor that is famous for being in Galaxy Quest. He was just a red shirt.
Yeah.
But now that he's on the ship on a real mission, he's just afraid that they're in episode 31 and that's the episode where he died.
Yeah.
Before the first commercial break. And, I mean, he's either just on too much coffee or something because he's always jittery and everything, but it's so great to have a character who comments on the plot mechanics of, let's say, a random Star Trek episode as well, because they had those red shirts, and I mean, I think to some extent some of the Thermians become red shirts because quite a few of them die, and maybe that's one plot point that the movie kind of glosses over a little bit.
Yeah.
Their whole civilization is basically destroyed.
Yeah. I mean, their last spaceport is just in part of their broken planet.
Yeah.
But speaking of Guy, I mean, he embodies everything that, as you said, the red shirt stands for. He has no name. And he is just used to die because to show that the situation is more severe, to kind of have someone die. And I mean, he's now afraid because at any point he could die again. And he always goes on with it. I don't have a last name. And then the others are like, you do have a last name, but you don't know it. and they have a plan. The problem is the plan they they come up with is exactly the plan they had in episode 81, which is that episode in which he actually died. So he gets even more nervous. And I mean, Sam Rockwell is a brilliant actor if he has the right part, and he is brilliant in this one.
I mean, his name is, they pronounce it Guy, but his name is Guy.
Yeah.
He's just a guy.
Just a guy.
I mean, obviously, in the end of the movie, he becomes series regular in the reboot. And I think there they call him Rock Ingersoll, security chief. Which is, let's be honest, that's almost a porn name or something. Yeah, there are these little jokes, these little moments that make this movie so great. And every moment with Sam Rockwell is one of these great moments. And I think Sam Rockwell is one of those few actors, I would say, like Alan Rickman, who make every movie they're in, if they're in the right part, better.
Mm.
I have to admit, I like Sam Rockwell in Iron Man as well, or in Iron Man 2.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he is probably the best part of Iron Man 2.
Let's just leave it at that. I think, I signed that statement, yeah.
I mean, Robert Downey Jr. is always great. But
He's always great, but yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing about Galaxy Quest. It uses tropes, and it uses well-known characters from Star Trek. It mixes it up a little bit. Gwen, for example, is kind of a combination of, I would say, Tasha and a little bit Deanna Troi, in the sense of that she only has dialogue that's not really relevant to the plot, but she's depicted as this tough woman. And even in the convention, she's always depicted as, the fighting, the girl who fights and everything. And there are a lot of other women who actually look up to her because she's kind of the strong woman. But she herself, she doesn't feel like that. She
has one job, and that's to repeat a computer, which is so silly.
And which they go the whole 9 yards with that, in the sense of that she needs to talk to the computer because the computer doesn't listen to anyone else.
But basically that's what most of the characters on a Star Trek bridge did anyway. They looked at their monitors or whatever, and then they said what the computer told them.
Yeah.
So it's just,
It's just a little more silly if the computer has a voice and he says it before. But she's also a little bit of Uhura, who had that problem that she was just saying, there's someone calling, I'm connecting. A very nice nod to Star Trek. But she also grows quite a bit, doesn't she?
Every character grows. And I think at the end of the day, that's at least for me, that's why the movie works. Even the Darren Mitchell character, Laredo.
Laredo. Tommy Webber,
yeah.
Yeah.
He starts to believe in himself. He feels like, he feels very, very useless because he's supposed to, the one who steers or steers the ship, and he doesn't know how. But in the end, he's becomes quite good at it because, obviously the Thermians modeled the whole steering system after his deliberate movements. I don't know.
But he's an interesting character because he also depicts the child actor that grew up and has nothing else except that one role he had as a child. Darren Mitchell does a great job with that. Maybe he's a little bit too much. But other than that, his performance is great.
All the performances are really, really good.
Yeah.
There are kind of just some set pieces that I would like to mention. There is this set piece in the middle of the ship where, Sigourney Weaver and Tim Allen have to, basically get through the ship, and they have to get by some really silly obstacles that make absolutely no sense in a spaceship.
Yeah, like gigantic thumpers and a fire pit.
It's so stupid, but yeah, it's what they had in some of these shows because they needed to create some sort of suspense or whatever. And the Thermians just copied it. And I have to admit, I really like the sequence on the planet where they have to get a new beryllium sphere.
Oh, yeah.
And they have to leave Tim Allen behind. And I like it for two reasons. First of all, it's the classic away mission. Mm-hmm. Kind of plays a little bit into the Sam Rockwell character Guy as well.
Yeah.
And they leave the captain behind because, obviously they leave the captain behind. And then they need to use their device, the digitizer they call him, to bring him back to the ship. And it's a cool moment that this digitizer finally works and everything. And here is where the movie actually becomes great. They introduce the digitizer in this scene and said, they have this beaming technology that they use to save the captain. Fine. But they bring the digitizer back in the end when they digitize or transport a rock monster to defeat the enemies. And I think that's what a really good screenplay should do. You introduce something, you use it in an interesting way, and then later you use it similar but subvert it a little bit. And that's what I meant in the end, and in the beginning when I said the movie is very tight, the movie has no fat, everything serves a purpose. Mm-hmm. I mean, even the silly quotes serve a purpose because they have an important callback. Even the fans who are way too much into the whole ship design and everything, they serve a purpose because they need the information later. Mm. And even repeating the computer or kind of the whole thing, what the Omega-13 does. I mean, obviously, in the first few minutes of the movie, you introduce the Omega-13. Obviously, it's Chekhov's gun. Yes. You need to fire the Omega-13 in the end. And, I mean, it's not just me who calls Galaxy Quest a almost perfect movie. I mean, it's David Mamet, famous writer-director. Galaxy Quest is among his list of perfect movies, I think together with The Godfather and two others.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I would say that's a pretty, I mean, if David Mamet thinks your movie, that's very high praise.
Yeah.
And so it's very, and I think it's very well deserved for Galaxy Quest.
It is. I mean, we said it already. It's a fantastic movie. It has so much heart. It has a brilliant script. It is so well acted, and everything serves a purpose, a narrative purpose, and there is absolutely no fat. 100 minutes, and it's just the whole experience you need. I mean, if that doesn't count as a perfect movie, then what is a perfect movie? Yeah. And one little thing that I think the movie does very, very well is when we look at Jason Nesmith, the Tim Allen character, how he enjoys being in the light. As you said, he's a narcissist. And he is Captain Taggart. He is the star of the show. And he even has his own table when signing autographs. He's not with the rest of the crew. But in the end, he realizes, and so does the movie, in fact, that a show like Galaxy Quest or Star Trek is not just about a single character. It's an ensemble piece. It's about all the people who are involved. And sure, some of them have more lines than others. That's just the nature of it. But in the end, they are all part of it. And not only that, there's also a literal nod to the fans. They kind of bow down to the fans. And that is just beautiful. That is such a great ending.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. Well put. Yeah.
I think we should leave it at that. I mean, really, it's a movie you really need to watch. Is there something you want to add, some final words, Greg?
No, I hope you stopped in the beginning when we told you to stop and watch this movie. Mm. If you haven't done so, I mean, now we gave you all the reasons why to watch the movie, and I hope we didn't spoil too much. Just watch it, Galaxy Quest. It's definitely worth your time. I mean, it's, as we said before, it's 102 minutes. It's shorter than Lord of the Rings. You can watch it twice.
Everything is shorter than Lord of the Rings.
I mean, it's less than 3 episodes of Chuck.
Good point. Yeah, go watch it. It's worth it.
Definitely, yeah.
All right, Greg. Shall we wrap this up then?
Let's wrap this up.
So then, this is it for this week. Please like, share, and subscribe to our podcast. We're on all major podcasting services and on YouTube and on www.passionofthegeeks.com. You can send questions and suggestions to passionofthegeeks@gmail.com, and you can find us on Twitter at PassionOTGeeks. So, Greg, it was a lot of fun rewatching Galaxy Quest and talking about it with you.
It was a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to another year of doing things like this with you.
Oh, so am I. I'm glad to do this with you. So then, Greg, take care.
Take care.
So, 5 card stat, nothing wild, and the sky's the limit.